"Please, don't," I said. "I didn't do it for that." She stopped, nodded slowly. Then she reached into her bag again and pulled out a business card. "My brother owns a small construction company," she said. "He's been looking for a project coordinator for 3 months. He can't find the right person." She held out the card. "Call him. Tell him Margaret sent you." I stared at that card for a long time after she left with Sam. I want to tell you that I felt some great rush of hope in that moment. But honestly, I felt nothing. I was too tired for hope. I had hoped too many times in the past 6 weeks and been disappointed every single time. I put the card in my pocket. I slept in the bus station that night, sitting upright on that bench, my jacket pulled tight. I called the number 3 days later. Not because I believed, but because I had nothing left to lose. The man who answered had a voice like gravel and molasses, low, warm, direct. "This is Robert." "My name is Daniel," I said. "Margaret gave me your number. She said you might be looking for a project coordinator." A pause. "Margaret told me about you," he said. "She did?" "She told me a man with 1 coin in his pocket gave it to her son and wouldn't take anything in return." Another pause. "That's an unusual kind of person." My throat tightened. "Come in Thursday," he said. 9 in the morning. Don't be late. I don't hire people who are late." "I won't be late," I said. I borrowed an iron from a shelter I was staying at. I pressed my one good shirt 4 times until it looked decent. I polished my shoes with a paper towel and hand soap. I walked 40 minutes to the office because I couldn't afford the bus. I was 12 minutes early. Robert was a stocky man in his 50s with gray at his temples and a handshake that felt like a door closing. He had the kind of eyes that measure people quickly. He asked me about my experience. I told him everything, including the part where the company shut down and left me with nothing. He didn't flinch. "Why should I hire you?" he asked. I thought about lying, about giving him a list of skills and accomplishments. Instead, I said, "Because I know what it means to lose everything and still show up, and because I will never take a single day of this job for granted." He was quiet for a moment. Then, "You start Monday." The first paycheck I received, I sat in my new small apartment, rented, not owned, barely furnished, and I held it in both hands for a long time. It wasn't large, but it was mine. I framed a copy of it. I know that sounds strange, but I wanted to remember. I worked harder at that job than I had worked at anything in my life. Not out of fear, out of gratitude. Because I understood, finally and completely, that nothing is guaranteed. That the floor can drop out from under you without warning, and that the only thing you can control is what you choose to do when it does. Robert gave me more responsibility, then more. Within 8 months, I was running 3 projects at once. One evening, as I was locking up the office, Robert stopped beside me. "You know what Margaret told me about you?" he said. "You mentioned she told you about the coin," I said. "She also told me something else." He looked out the window at the street. "She said you had the eyes of a man who had been beaten down but hadn't given up. She said that's the rarest kind of person she ever sees in that hospital." I didn't know what to say to that. "She sees a lot of people," he added quietly, "in that hospital. A lot of people who have given up." He patted my shoulder once, the way a father might. "Don't ever give up," he said, and walked away. A year after that night at the bus station, I went back. I don't know exactly why. I just needed to. I sat on that same cold metal bench. The woman behind the counter was different now. The vending machine had been replaced with a newer one. The smell was the same, old coffee and cleaning soap. I reached into my pocket. I pulled out a coin. I held it in my palm and looked at it for a long time. A little girl walked past, holding her mother's hand, staring at the vending machine with that particular hungry child expression that I recognized immediately. The mother was checking her purse with a tired, worried face. I stood up. I walked to the mother. I held out the coin. "For the machine," I said simply. She looked at me, cautious at first, the way people look at strangers who offer things. Then she looked at the coin, then at her daughter, then back at me. "Thank you," she said softly. "You're welcome," I said, and I meant it just as much as the first time. I still keep a coin in my pocket every day, not because I am superstitious, not as a lucky charm, just as a reminder that on the worst night of my life, I had one coin. And the choice I made with it, that small, quiet, barely noticeable choice, started a chain of events that rebuilt everything I had lost. I never found out what happened to Sam. I hope he grew up well. I hope he remembers, even faintly, that one evening a stranger with nothing chose to give anyway. Maybe he will do the same someday. Maybe he already has. People ask me sometimes what the secret is. To recovery, to resilience, to coming back from nothing. I tell them it isn't a secret at all. I was sitting on a bench with one coin, and I had two choices: hold on to it, or let it go. I let it go. And the God sent it back to me 1,000 times over. Not in coins, in something far more valuable, in purpose, in belonging, in the quiet, solid knowledge that I am the kind of man who gives his last coin away. That is worth more than any paycheck, more than any apartment, more than any job title. That is who I am, and I will never trade it for anything. What you give when you have nothing reveals who you truly are.